Hi everyone, welcome back to Dr. RCM Academy. In this session, I am going to talk about how these for loops can be used with list. We have seen for loops in the previous session, but now let us apply these for loops for lists and see how it works. As we know, for loops will execute a block of code certain number of times. You know how many number of times it has to execute, and so many number of times it is going, the statements under for loop will be executed. Now, for loop repeats code block once for each item in a list. So, instead of mentioning the value, if I specify a list, then number of times it is going to repeat based on the list values. Suppose if I have 10 values or 10 elements in the list, so for loop will be executed 10 times. So, that is you can either you can specify the list itself in the for loop, or the other way that is going to see is, so using a range function. So, in for loop we used to have a range function. Immediately after range, I used to mention the number, how many times it has to repeat. Now, instead of that, I can specify, I can calculate how many times it has to execute. So, this is the name of the list. So, if you give name of the list and calculate what is the length of that, so that becomes the value of range function. Let us explore these two ways by taking some examples. Now, if you want to execute a loop for 4 times, then I used to give for I in range, correct. So, for and in are the keywords. I is a variable, user defined variable, and inside the range function I used to specify how many times it has to be repeated. So, if you do that, so and if you simply say print what is I. So, what does it do? It calculates each time I takes the value starting from 0 till 3 and it is going to print it. So, I will initially take a value 0 till 3 because I have not mentioned what is the start value. So, on default start value it has been taken as 0. Now, so it print I, so it is going to print 0. Then next time I becomes I plus 1 automatically because I have not mentioned any step size. So, therefore, so it is going to repeat 0, 1, 2 and 3, and it is going to print all these numbers. So, if I execute this, you obtain, so there are 4 numbers starting from 0. Let us modify this. Instead of specifying the range function here, I will specify the list itself. This will work same as the previous program that what I told. So, it is going to print all the numbers. So, first it is going to consider the first element, that is 0, and it will be printed. Next time I will take the next element and it will be printing. So, it will be considering element by element and it will traverse through the entire list. This is how for loop can be used. Instead of range function, if you know the list, you can specify the list itself. Now, if I execute this, same output you are going to get, correct. So, either you can specify the range function or you can specify the list itself. Normally, we use a range function and calculate the length automatically. For example, list 1 is equals to, I have say 0, 1, 2, 3, and if I want to, instead of taking the list itself, I want to take the number of elements in the list. Now, I in range of, so I will consider a range function, range of, and I will calculate what is the length of list 1, that is L1. Now, what is L1? It is a list. Now, what is the length of list 1? It is 4. Now, therefore, range function will take a value 4. You can say, so print what is I. Initially, I will take a value 0. It is not the element of the list. Here in this case, it is only 4 is the length of the list. Therefore, it will consider len of list is 4. So, it will consider 0 to 3. I will initially take 0 and print it. Next time I becomes 1 automatically. So, it is going to print. This is the output that what we obtain. So, that which means that for loop will be iterated 4 times starting from 0 to 3. Now, let us take one example to write a Python program to sum all the items in the list. Suppose if I consider a list 5, 1, 2 like this. So, I want to add all these numbers, that is 5 plus 1. So, you get 6 and this result of this should be added with 2. So, that you get total 8. So, sum of the entire list so is found to be 8. I have to write a program for this. Let us write it by using functions that we already studied in the previous videos, and let us use for loop with list. So, with these concepts, so as we already studied, let us see how the program can be written. Now, I define a function called sum list. I am going to find out what is sum of the list. Okay. So, I am calling in the this is your definition of a function. So, whereas your main program will start executing from here. So, I am printing. So, what is sum underscore list? This is a function name. I am calling a function with the name sum underscore list and passing the arguments, passing the value 1, 2, minus 8. Now, since it is a single list, therefore, to receive this, so I need one variable, which means that whenever you call a function with the name sum list, so control will go to sum list and receive the list in the name of items. Now, so initially before adding any element in this list, so the total sum of the numbers is equals to 0. This is the declaration I have done. Now, the variable sum of numbers is 0. Now, I will take for loop for any variable x in items, because I am going to search in the list, correct. So, therefore, I have not used range function, I have directly used in list itself here. What is the list? It is named as item here. Therefore, so for x in items, I have considered the list. So, x will take a value first element, that is 1, right. So, it will enter into loop. Now, sum of numbers becomes sum of numbers plus x. Therefore, so previously sum of numbers was 0, now it will be added with plus x. So, x means, so the value of x here is 1, therefore, 0 plus 1 is 1. So, then again it goes back to for loop, take the x value, that is second item in the list, that is 2. So, now previously sum of numbers was 1, now it becomes 1 plus 2, x value is 2. So, 1 plus 2 is 3, that will be updated with sum of numbers. Then again it goes for x for loop, taking a x value minus 8. Previous sum of numbers was 3, now 3 plus of minus 8 is x value, therefore, the answer is minus 5. 3 minus 8 is minus 5. And since all the elements in the list is over, then it will come out of the loop for loop and return the result, that is sum of numbers, which is nothing but minus 5, and it comes to main program and prints the value. Therefore, if I run this code, so you are going to get the answer as minus 5. Let us consider one more example to understand for loop with list. Considered a list with the name animals, and these are the elements of the list, that is lion, tiger, elephant and giraffe. Then I have considered the for loop where I is a user defined. For I in range I have given, where I have calculated the length of the list animals. So, animals is a list which consists of 4 elements. Therefore, len of animals will be 4, which means that for I in range of 4, for I in range of 4, I am printing. So, as it is a string, so I am printing as it is the animals at list position. What does I take initially? I take the value 0, as we know it is in the range of 4, that means it is from 0 to 3. I will take a value 0 initially. Therefore, the animal at list position 0. So, is also string, it will print as it is. Now, what is animals of 0? Animals is a list, right. So, in that list I value is 0, 0th index it is going to find. What is animals of 0? It is lion. So, that is what it is going to print. Next time, so after printing that, so again it goes to for loop taking the I value 1. So, if I want to know again print the animal at list position 1 is. So, what is animal of 1? That is nothing but the first index is tiger. So, it is going to print tiger. Next line it is going to print elephant and giraffe. After completing all the elements in list, it will come out of the for loop. Let us see the output of this program. See, you can observe. So, you got animal at list position 0 is lion, that means 0th index you have lion, first index you have tiger, second index you have elephant, and all for third index you have giraffe. All the elements in the list has been printed.